what has the last few weeks been like for you, your properties, and the people within those properties?
Well, first of all, Tom, thank you and the rest of the team for having me on. And I think, your Professor Rajan just talked about community, and you mentioned it. And what we find and what we work on is creating communities and trying to bring people together. And we obviously have gone through, over the last several months, a very difficult period of time. And in the last couple of weeks, there have been, I think, dramatic sea changes in the way, hopefully, people look forward and try to bring our communities together, because that's really critical. And I think our city is, so diverse, and that's our strength. And how do we bring people together? And you can't do that working from home. And I think, some of your other speakers have talked about that too. You have to be working in your office, working together. I talk about collaboration, community, connectivity. So that's what we have to keep doing to move forward our economy. And phase one opened up the other day in New York. You had almost 800,000 people on using the subway. The governor and the mayor have done an incredible job. We were at a peak, several thousand people a day getting sick. Today, it's
right. But Bill,
yes, Tom.
As I mentioned, I don't mean to interrupt, Bill, but just because of time, and I know Lisa's got a whole bunch of questions here as well. What I find so important, Bill, is hope. We have to develop a hope of the people. Maybe they're not protesting, maybe they're certainly not looting, but they have lost hope over the last X number of years, not about the pandemic. They've just lost hope in development. How do we jumpstart that hope within the greater New York City region?
Well, I think first step is opening phase one, and then in a couple of weeks from now, opening phase two, getting our city back, getting the economy moving again, creating, the construction cranes are working. The men and women on those sites are back into work, almost 400,000 or 500,000 people. That is a sign of hope. And you're right. We need to have signs that give us guidance that things are going to get better. You're seeing legislation, in New York State yesterday in terms of changes in policing. We have to work together with communities and create better policing policies where people feel confident about their police, and we have to create economic opportunities for all spectrums of our population, and we're going to do that. And you're going to see New York City be at the forefront of job creation, dealing with issues from racial injustice to affordable housing to education. That's what we do, and we've come back before from major tragic events, and we've worked together. This is an entrepreneurial spirit. You talk about hope. We've come back before from in the early 90s where we had 90 million feet in Lower Manhattan. You had 30% vacancy. We came together. We converted office buildings to residential. Yeah. We created tax incentives for companies to move downtown. Now you have 70,000 people living in Lower Manhattan from 10,000 25 years ago. So there are symbols out there. 9/11, we came back. After Sandy, we came back.
Well, Bill, let's talk about the hope versus the here and now. As you own 17 office buildings, I believe, throughout the city, what's the demand like right now for that office space?
Well, obviously, when the city and the country went on pause, things slowed down. But going back to the hope, a lease was signed 2 weeks ago by TikTok in Times Square for over 230,000 feet. Over 1,000 people are going to move into an office building on 42nd Street. That's hope. That's a sign that things are going to turn around. We're working on different deals. I know a lot of my colleagues are working on things. Unfortunately, things got put on pause. But as soon as we start opening up the economy, I think you'll start seeing activity, leasing, both commercial and residential, and people starting to come back into the city.